So the Beatles, probably one of the first bands I ever really heard way back when I was a kid. It was remarkable how when they put out a song, you used to listen to whatever single had just been released, and it just always sounded like this amazing pop song or just a fantastic piece of arrangement. And you used to think, well, that's it now, that's about as good as you could possibly get. But then the next song would be released after that, and it would be, like an even better song. And you used to think, well, how they managed that? That's an even better one, or just as good as the last one. And of course, this would just keep happening. Another song would come out, and you'd be like, that's an even better song. And of course, George Harrison doing the sort of main guitar parts, the lead, the solo parts. That was probably my first exposure to someone who was doing that particular kind of style. So it was very much in my head as a kid, even before I'd even played the guitar. There was a period in my life where I sort of trained to be a sound engineer. This came after years of being in bands and recording. I was very interested in it. So I spent quite a bit of time learning all of this kind of stuff, and was very lucky enough to eventually get a job in London as a sound engineer. And this was a fascinating experience because I was able to come in contact with a lot of really interesting recordings and worked on a lot of stuff that was out probably around the sort of 2000 kind of year mark, a little bit before that, a little bit after that. Anyway, one specific job that came up that involved George Harrison was the Concert for George DVD, and obviously the CD and everything else that went along with it. Shortly after George had passed away, there was obviously this big idea of putting together a lot of musicians to put a tribute towards his career, his songwriting ability. And I was really lucky enough to be a part of this. It was a kind of small part in a way, but it was fantastic to be able to do it. The story behind this was that they'd recorded the concert at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and they'd used two big multi-track machines. These were Sony 3348 digital machines, and the job that I was to perform was to transfer all the tracks from these digital machines onto Pro Tools in order to be mixed by a specific engineer who was doing it. So the tapes came into me, and what I had to do was basically line up and sync them up. So they were both 48 track recorders. So you were looking about 96 tracks in total that they'd recorded onto. And what you had to do was just sync up these two machines and then digitally transfer all 96 tracks in sync onto Pro Tools. So this was quite a feat, and you can imagine 96 tracks. Every track has got to be crystal clear. You can't have any digital distortion. Everything's got to be perfect as it was recorded. So I believe at the time, how I did it was I sent a digital clock source to the two Sony machines. So that was, they were getting their information as far as timing goes. And then you also sent the same clock to the Pro Tools machines so that they were in perfect sync. You had to have this complete compatibility, obviously with the sample rate and the bit rate, and each machine had to be receiving the same clock so that they were all perfectly in time. Now I do remember just looking at the amount of tracks, and you could see all the guitars, all the drums, the keyboards, and everything were coming up on the Pro Tools machine. And then you could, solo each track. You could hear how it had been recorded, and it was fascinating. You could really hear the quality of the instruments that were on there. So it was a huge transfer. I mean, you were talking about, I think the concert was a good 2 or 3 hours, something like that. So it was a massive amount of music to go on to a slightly different format. Anyway, so it ran into the small hours. I seem to remember trying to do this. And, it was really interesting to hear it all coming back. You could put up all the faders, listen to pretty much how it would have sounded on the night. Anyway, due to actually working on that and being able to do that, there was a premiere in Leicester Square in London, and one of the premieres were for the main artists who'd performed, and then the second premiere that they had was for all the technical crew, the people who had actually worked on the concert, and all the audio and what have you. So that was the one I was invited to. So it was a great thrill just to go there, and of course to be able to be one of the first people to actually see the movie when it was finished. George's wife, Olivia, she came on at the beginning before the movie started, and sort of said thank you and thanked us all for the work that we'd done and how much it actually meant to be able to have achieved such a huge project, and then obviously get it out there, get it on the movie. It was quite a really touching tribute to George, and all the musicians obviously were. It was all very heartfelt. It was a great, great tribute to him. So for me to be there and actually to see at the end the credits coming down, and that for me was probably an ambition fulfilled, just to see my name on that type of movie. It was a wonderful thing to have been able to be a part of that and to have done the work that I did on it. And, I never really imagined that when I was a kid. You think about watching the Beatles and George Harrison, and then to be somehow a part of, the celebration of his life and his career was really special for me.